Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another reading. Okay, we are starting with the Mabon deck here, just to get general vibe. And actually, I'm being also called to pull out my Woodland Wardens as well for a vibe check. All right, what's the vibe that we're checking today? Root vegetables. Oh, I love this owl. In those hidden places where most fear to go is where the most nourishment is waiting for you to behold. Hello, it's the time to go to the underworld, you know. I feel like this is a dual message of we have been there. Some of us have been there. Some of us are going to the underworld right now. Some of us are returning. I'm definitely getting, actually, Orpheus and Eurydice vibes from this, where if you don't know Greek mythology, Orpheus was this, he liked to play the lyre, and he was going to get married to Eurydice. I believe he was blessed by Apollo, because the lyre is Apollo's instrument. Anyway, there was a bunch of fawns, though, and stuff at his wedding, I believe. I can't remember quite, but anyway. So the whole thing is that Eurydice dies, and he's so distraught that he goes to the underworld to go retrieve her. And, you know, they say, okay, but here's the rule. You cannot look back at Eurydice as she follows you once, or she will remain here in the underworld, right? And so he gets so close to the end. They are just coming out, but they are not quite out yet. And he looks behind him, and he sees her, and then she goes back to the underworld. She cannot be retrieved from that. So what I'm sort of receiving the message of that from this is you're not done yet. Even though, as I said, some of us have been in the underworld for a while, and some of us are maybe getting into it right now, you're not quite out of it yet. You can't rush this process, because then the treasure that you are trying to take from the underworld, the purpose of you going to the underworld in the first place, will not be able to come out with you properly, fully realized, right? Because, you know, again, back to this card in specific, this is talking about root vegetables. You don't want to pull your potatoes and your carrots too early. I mean, they'll still be delicious, but they won't be fully grown. They won't have had the time to fully come to the maximum fruition. And I will say right now, because I have been in it, and I have been in this underworld space for quite a while, it is not easy being here, you know. Whether that is you are in it in the way of dealing with depression, or just despair at the world. You know, it's not easy to be in it, but the rewards will be abundant. The rewards will be overflowing. It will seem like you cannot even carry all of these rewards, all of these gems that you have been able to bring back with you. But you will, because they're yours. You've grown them. Okay. Now, that's a little bit of the vibe. What's the rest of the vibe here, Spirit? And we've got the Woodland Wardens deck now. the moth and eucalyptus. Unending. Literally unending. Okay, so I'm being told to get a couple other cards, but that bodes well. We're returning to the light here. Oh, okay. Hold on. I want to do a shuffle. I cut it on the bee and the pomegranate. Oh, and the quail and gooseberry. Anticipation. Productivity. Here are the other cards. Never mind shuffling. Here are the other cards. So the bee is obviously pretty important to me. My channel name is the Melissa, just the honeybee. It's, you know, every creature has its importance on this planet, but it is one of the most important, especially in terms of how a lot of us animals eat, right? If we don't have that little worker bee going around pollinating everything, then we lose so many of our crops, right? And this is anticipation, the quail and the gooseberry. Excuse me, I need a sip. And I'll also remind you, please drink some water. And ending. We have all flying creatures here, right? And we also have the pomegranate, you know, also reminiscent of the Underworld, with Hades and Persephone. We're coming out. We're coming out of the Underworld here, which is interesting because especially if you live in the northern part of the hemisphere, we just got into autumn, right? We're going into the dark half of the year. There is more night now than there is daytime here. But again, I'm seeing this as the reflection of the southern and the northern of the entire earth, because we are all one, that even though it is autumn up here, it is springtime down below. So this whole vibe of harvesting the springtime. And for us in the northern hemisphere, what are we harvesting that we have planted in the spring, right? What is it that we have been working on this last 6 months that we are now harvesting? Because the time for that growth is done, right? The time to pick it up and finally have it in our arms, in our stores, in our houses, to allow us to eat fitfully for the entire winter, right? Allow us to process it, to be nourished by it. What is it that we have done? And we get to fly here because we have gone through this process. We have been productive. We have done our work. You know, this whole year has been such an interesting sort of ride, in the way that, you know, it just for me, but I've seen it with, you know, the way that people in other readings that I have been called to read or listen to, how they have been dealing with their year as well. We are a lot more interconnected than we like to think, right? The bee is interconnected with us all. All of our environment is interconnected with us. All of the creatures in the environment, including us, we're all interconnected. There's a lot that's been going on, and we have gone through a lot of transformations here this year in order to become the most abundant fruit that we could be as well, right? We go to the underworld to harvest pieces of ourselves while leaving things that don't serve us behind. It's like, is it a Rishkigal? I believe so. In the Sumerian mythology. Oh, it's been a while since I've looked at this or heard this, but the very big point of the story is she also goes to the underworld, right? Her sister has been taken, I believe, or her sister died. I can't remember. Can't quite remember. But anyway, she goes to the underworld, and there are 7 gates, I believe, and she has to take all of her jewels off. She has to take her clothing off. She has to leave all of these things that she has considered hers behind, because they won't serve her once she arrives to the deepest, darkest pits of the underworld there. It will not help her bring her sister back, right? But it's, for us here in this reading, it is very much we can only carry so much in our baskets, right? Even though I know I said it might seem like too much, but it's not, because it's what we have been cultivating anyway. But we only have so much room in our baskets. And if we have parts of ourselves that are completely filling up this basket, and there's no room to bring back the jewels that we find in the underworld, then we can't bring them back. Then we leave them behind, and maybe we could go retrieve them at a different time. But why do you want to keep on constantly going back to the underworld? Why do you keep on going to the underworld? Is like unless you're Persephone, in which case, you're bound by contract. But going to the underworld in mythologies is, you do this once, especially if you're a mortal. You only do this once in your lifetime. And I know a lot of us have been through a very dark period. We're still going through a very dark period, right? But I'm seeing the ability right now, should you look at things with anticipation and unburden yourself with the things that you thought you were, the people that you thought you were, the person that you thought you had to be. If you unburden yourself and you allow those things to be buried, to go to earth, so that those treasures of yours, those things you are cultivating through, unfortunately having to deal with the world as it is right now, and personal, life events that happen that are not so great, you let the things die away. And I will say, having experienced a couple family deaths in the last last year, there's nothing like death to make you realize where you're, I'm going to say it because I'm hearing it in my head, where you're holding on to your bullshit. Where you're holding on to the bullshit of society. It became so very clear to me how important it is to hang out with like-minded people, with friends, to laugh, to not be a hermit all the time. I'm very much a hermit, for the rest of my life, but it has become so much more important to understand that it is so important to be with my people, right? And that's something that I have learned through letting go of my idea of, well, I'm going to be bugging somebody, and, I don't want to be a burden, and I don't want people to feel like they have to hang out if they don't want to, and stuff like that. But I also think that, my friends are also at a point in their lives as well where it's just like, we're letting that bullshittery just slough away. If we're not into hanging out, that's fine. But for the most part, we all basically know that we want to hang out together. We enjoy each other's companies. We understand that we bring each other joy. And that's been such a beautiful gem that I have recovered from the underworld for myself. There are others, but this is one that is really coming out. So I definitely think, for those of you who have been maybe not trying to bug your friends, go fucking bug them. Let them know you love them. You're friends with them for a reason, right? So we've got ending here. We've got ending of this old way of being, this old paradigm of ourselves, right? And we've got this anticipation here. Do we want this deck? Yeah. So I'm just using my old Rider-Waite Tarot for, actually, let's do some shuffling for sort of like where Spirit would like to guide us into helping make it easier, or helping us realize that we really do need to let who we were, who society has put on us to be, go for our betterment and for the betterment also of our communities, right? So that we can fly. So that we can be limitless. All right. Whoop. Queen of Wands. This woman here, she is touched by the sun. She has her wand of power. This is a witch here, right? She understands her power. She is very seated in her throne. She is intuitive. You know, she's got her little black cat here, very appropriate for this season, but also very appropriate for us. It is the intuition. Oh, this is interesting. Okay. The intuition that is within us, but the intuition that comes with relationships between people, between animals. There's a very interesting thing that I think happens when you're an animal person, especially with cats, because cats don't mess around, okay? You have to get consent from them. And if they don't want your business, they will tell you, and you will probably be bitten or scratched, you know, if you don't listen to when they say no. And I feel like the ability to be able to read the body language, read the meows, the sounds that they make to us, the same way that we learn to read the body language of our friends and family, the people around us, so that we are able to sort of almost connect in to this group intuition. It's a web I'm seeing. The intuition is a web, and it's like when a fly comes in and flies and the web just kind of jiggles and shakes, we can all kind of feel that because we are connected to each other, because the strings of our webs are connected in with others, right? This is the web, the fabric of community, right? And we are in community with everything around us, not just people. We are in community with the land, with the towns that we live in, like literally the town. I'm very animistic. I think there is a spirit in everything, right? So literally the physical town that we live in, the land, you know, and the land spirits, the people, of course, the animals that live here. And when you listen to that, when you give give yourself space to listen to that, you can align yourself even further to not only be in alignment with yourself, but also be in alignment with your space, with the area around you. This is a really interesting message. I love this. Bringing back the jewels, the cultivated treasures from the earth in order to be able to more better sit in our throne, and also understand how each one of us is sort of a point of expression for not just ourselves, but for the entire web of people and place around us. Well, that one came flying out. Page of Cups. We have a message coming in here. And it's interesting that the page is looking right towards the Queen of Wands. There's a message coming directly to us right now. Can we just get a card to know what this message is? It's definitely one of abundance. Knight of Wands. This is a message of passion, of expression, of honing skills in order to express ourselves in the most right way for us possible. You know, it's like me being a kid and loving singing, loving it so much. It has been a part of me from birth, okay? It is me having that and then me going to hone those skills. Spending thousands of hours singing alone and then going to get singing lessons eventually, going to post-secondary. Although I don't think that post-secondary is necessary. Singing lessons definitely, especially when you get good teachers. Oh, God, so good. But I do, you know, this reading isn't about education. We're not going to talk about that right now. But yes, this is a message. I think this is a suitor coming in, to be honest, somebody who is also passionate with you. Passionate like you, wanting to add, I'm seeing the yellow here, wanting to add, to enmesh these fabrics together, to enmesh the webs together. I think this is somebody who is also driven, who is also maybe not as seated in their power as you may be, but somebody who wants to be seated in their power. And I think that not necessarily, I think they will learn from you anyway because you are seated in that power. That is what happens when somebody is seated in power, because just by your very actions, just by people observing somebody who is fully aligned within themselves and their purpose in this life, people learn from that. It doesn't matter. But this person wants to be your equal. And they're bringing a lot of passion here. This can also be a wanting to work together as well. And it's they're just about here. Like this person is going to show up very soon. They're not messing around. Hello, Hermit. It's so very interesting that all these people are looking towards the Queen. And in saying that, I'm seeing the Hermit here too. This is, oh, beautiful. This is really cool. Okay, so just talking about how us being seated in our power teaches other people anyway, no matter if we're trying to teach or not. It just does, right? That's why we call people role models and that sort of thing, right? Because they're modeling, we see the magic in them because it's so apparent, right? That we see that, wait, I could be like that too, or I could be like that in my own thing, right? And I think the Hermit here, this is those around you seeing that light and fire and calmness and ability to understand when to use her magic, when to use your magic. They're seeing that. And it's lighting the path forward for them. I very much have gotten a lot of, it's been kind of going in my, running in my mind a lot lately. And it's this imagery of we are all lighthouses. We are all beacons in the dark of night. When we allow our light to shine so brightly, that lights other people's lanterns so that they can start acquiring more and more of their own light by being inspired by other people's lights, right? And then eventually the Hermit can also become this beacon, calling people in to experience that light, gain some of the fuel from that light, right? Because my light fuels your light fuels my light, and we keep on becoming brighter and twinkling amongst the stars, right? the brighter we shine, the more we can inspire. And like, Wands is very much about inspiration and creativity and stuff like that. The brighter we shine in our own power and our own magic, the more we can inspire others, the more fire we can add to others' lights. So right now, this lamp is guiding this person forward. But eventually, they'll be able to take that light. It'll get big enough that it will be a beacon too. Oh, of course. This is, the swords have been kind of following me around lately. And I hear you, okay? I hear you, Spirit. You have to let the stuff you're supposed to leave behind. You have to make room for this. You have to make room for your treasures. You have to make room for your throne to sit upon, for you to be seated in your power. You can't sit on that throne, or that throne won't even be there if you have all of this hoarded garbage that truly serves no purpose for you. We only get these one lives as ourself in this life. And if you are, I've been seeing it as a house, right? Our lives are a house. And we get these houses when we're young. And we start filling it up. And we fill it up with everything. All the good stuff, all the bad stuff. But here's the thing. The good stuff ends up becoming part of us. It expands us. And we don't take up any more space in this house because of that, but it nourishes us, right? The good stuff that we put in our house is like the food that we bring in, the root vegetables, right? That's the good stuff. But all the bad stuff that happens, all the things that we can't let go of, all the beliefs about ourselves that we're not good enough, that I've always been somebody who's never been able to really commit to things. And so I will always be that. So every time you feel like something big is coming in, because having your throne, being seated on your throne is a responsibility, not just to yourself, but to everyone, right? It is a responsibility to shine bright so that others can see that light and get fuel from that inspiration you give them to make their light brighter. This is getting autobiographical a little bit. But when you hold on to that belief that you can't handle it because you've always kind of flaked out, and the wands here being the flakier kind of suit, the air suit. When you hold on to these ideas, they make you unable to get out of the dark, unable to clear away these swords that keep on stabbing you. It's like you have the throne from Game of Thrones in your house, and it's taking up way too much bloody room, and it keeps on stabbing you and slicing you every time you sit on it, because that's not your real fucking throne. Okay? That's not your throne. Oh, I'm feeling a little emotional. You need to get rid of that throne, because your throne is very much here and waiting to be set up, waiting to be brought back from the underworld, waiting to be brought back from all of the things that you've experienced. So you need to turn the bad stuff that you would otherwise just toss onto that throne, weld onto that throne, make that throne too big for the house that is your life, that there's no room for anything else. You need to take that and turn that into nourishment or let it go. Let it be reforged. Take it to your blacksmith and let it be reforged into something you can use in order to be seated in your power. Okay, one final card, Spirit. One final card. Yeah, this is a decision you're going to have to make for yourself, and you may feel like you cannot make this decision, right? You may feel like, again, this person is sitting on something as well. This is not your throne. This is not following your intuition, okay? You are sitting on something that's cold and hard. Your bare feet are on a floor that is cold and hard, but you are ignoring the fact that the world around you is absolutely stunning and beautiful, and you can connect to that moon. You can see further out. The blindfold on, you don't need your eyes to know that everything is beautiful, despite some appearances or some sensations. You're not using all of your sensations, all of your abilities to, that's what I'm hearing. Your physical sensations, but you're also not listening to your clair sensations, the way that your intuition works, the way that you receive messages. You are just simply not opening yourself up to it. But this is an abundant place to be. I'm sure, when the tides go out, there's many mussels and cockles and things and oysters to be had, to eat on, to feast on, right? The pearls you could get from that. The land that you're on, yes, it may feel cold and hard right here, but I guarantee you step off and you can feel the living water. You can feel the living land. You can feel your connection to that and how you are truly supposed to be seated. And the land will come up and the water will come up to meet you. And the moon will come down to meet you in all of these ways to set your throne up for you. But you gotta get out of your head. You have to understand that the decision here is indecision. I'm hearing you either shit or get off the pot, but you don't want to do either. But you gotta. There is something so bloody beautiful here waiting, and it's your throne. It's your ability to connect with others, right? You gotta let this head stuff, you gotta let that go. Meditate, ground yourself on the earth. If it's cold outside when you're listening to this, you only have to go outside for a few seconds, but just feel the snow and the crunch of the snow and ice beneath your boots. Feel that sunlight on your face. Feel the moonlight on your face. You gotta get out of your head. You really gotta get out of your head. Again, these are always messages for myself. Absolutely beautiful. There's something so beautiful waiting here for you. You just gotta leave the things that don't serve behind. Thank you so much for being here with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.